there'd be that 3 cents per kilowatt to produce it on what the Salmon River is it? I'm trying to think of Salmon River.
Yeah, we use hydro, so
yeah,
good power rates. Good place for companies to come. They're very like Micron.
Yeah, Reno's not too bad. You have a state income tax though.
Unlike California.
Yeah,
we don't have any state income tax here, and you know what California is about. I came from politics in California in the 90s. California is about to pass. I think it's 351. It's really going to do a number on. It's going to make it very difficult to do business. It's extreme energy.
They just stripped out some parts of that.
Yeah,
so it's not going to be as bad as it was going to be. But Jerry Brown is resolute in the fact that he doesn't need the legislation. He'll just get the Air Resources Board to do whatever he wants.
Yep. The Air Resources Board, I think there's 11 of them in the state, in the districts. They are destroyed. I used to be a design build general contractor in Central Valley, up in the foothills of Sierras. And I remember when the Clean Water Act came out, the expenses and the costs have just skyrocketed to build anything. So I'm concerned about if California goes down, the West goes down. So we want California to stay healthy. And,
right. Well, there's that initiative to split California into multiple states.
Yeah,
it'll never happen.
It's not going to happen because here's the problem. As soon as you do that, now all of a sudden large portions of California are just completely like poverty stricken as far as like taxes and whatnot, because like most of the money is coming in a few parts of the state.
Plus, the rest of the country doesn't want to give California more senators.
Right. They've got something called ERAF in California. It moves the property tax around, and basically L.A. and San Francisco benefit tremendously. I was in Central Valley, which is a big farm agriculture in the foothills, and a percentage of our property tax goes to support San Francisco and L.A. It's not kept within the counties.
Oh, that was a big power grab when they grabbed that money.
That's called ERAF. It takes away from the rural areas and gives it to the population centers.
Well, they've also done it to the populated areas too. They've taken the tax.
The rich ones like San Diego probably don't get 100%, but LA and San Francisco get like 115, 120. For every dollar they pay in taxes, property taxes, they're getting $1.20 back to use.
Okay.
So the topic is the evolution of television and media.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I've been told that this is the by people in the industry that this is the golden age of television right now.
No, it's finished.
The golden age of television has been any single age of television at any given time. Like they always say that things are the golden age of something because nobody wants to admit that anything is in decline.
Right, but the whole thing is that like it's not broadcast television. It's all the different outlets that we have, all the different streaming outlets.
Well, I mean, look at the quality of Netflix original content, and other, Amazon has things now. Hulu is doing original content. Yahoo has original content. I mean,
I think I've watched any Yahoo original content.
I watched the last season of Community, and I will say that they actually increased the budget. As far as I can tell, of Community, whenever they released it on Yahoo, I was actually pretty impressed with it.
See, that's one thing I really liked about Amazon is they will put out a television series and it's actually high quality.
Oh yeah.
It seems like when they first started, it would be somewhat low budget, but these last ones they've been putting out, I'm trying to think of some of the names of them, but they're total network budget type of, and they'll put them all at once. So you can binge watch all in one day.
I'm looking forward to The Man in the High Castle, which they did a pilot of it, and now they're going to be producing it because they decided to pick it up. It's an alternate reality future where Germany and Japan won World War II, and the United States is split in two, kind of like half and half. One part is dominated by Japan, the other part by Germany, and it's this guy that's one of these underground type of freedom fighters that is the main protagonist in the story.
That would make the Rocky Mountains. Where's Colorado?
Right.
It's got
right.
kind of
the
the
Midwest.
Fallout. It's got the Fallout feel because Fallout's kind of the same concept of it's an alternate reality where time, like they never went past a certain technology. Is what Fallout, or they never went past the tube. I think, and they use nuclear and they use radio tubes.
Yeah.
And that's why Fallout looks the way it does.
Mhm.
Is because they're acting as if technology kept going, but they never created chips and things like that.
Right.
So that's the whole Fallout world. This seems like that's kind of the same feel because they're driving that style of car
Right.
that you saw in that game.
You going back to the TV being the golden age of TV. I think it started right after World War II sometime, and it's about 50 years, and I think it's gone. The traditional TV is out.
Right, but
There's so much digital media now. There's something called new media.
when they say that it's the golden age of television, they're encompassing all these other forms of art, and they're putting that in as a big part of
golden age of communication.
Right. I mean, maybe it's not television itself,
Right.
but it's content. It's dramatic content. It's comedic content. Yeah. It's spoken word content, news. I envision a future where the network news doesn't exist, and you have different people that are just doing the news locally, and depending on depending on how popular they are is who's getting the story out. And although people rail against media outlets now because of the monopoly that these large companies hold, if somebody, an individual or a small company has a stranglehold over a certain area, then that could be even more insidious than what we have now.
Yeah. Hey, Johnny, you're down in San Diego, right?
Yes.
John Lee Dumas has a podcast. He's making about $120,000. It's called EOFire.com. He's making $120,000 on his marketing. It's a daily podcast, 30 minutes. There's a lot of people doing that. You just said, I don't know if you heard what I said earlier. I actually am working on an investor pool right now.
Mm-hmm.
It costs about $250,000 a city to create this little setup, and it's a news channel, 30-minute news every day on RSS feed and different other sources. It'll go up everywhere. But all you need is a male and a female reporter, both using the camera. You bring in the information back at 5:15. At 6 o'clock, you have to have it all edited up and ready to go. You have a little studio. So with 5 people, one selling, but you have to sell enough, enough commercials. You have the intro, the mid-roll, and the out-roll. And that's the whole formula. And then most people hopefully will watch it on their smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
And and it shows up at 6 o'clock every night. And then you don't have to worry about when you need to watch it. It's just there.
See, but that's the thing is you have to create a platform because people don't think of YouTube as live. Like they don't go to YouTube for news.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's not off YouTube. It's an RSS feed.
I'm saying that's you have to create a platform that people are going to think, oh, here's where I'm going to go for news, but it's going to be current and it's going to be local. And it's like right now there's not a place to do that.
Yeah. ABC or CBS was doing that for a while. They're putting their show on ABC Nightly News every night, and then they pulled it off. They're testing it.
Yeah.
But it's just you've seen the Apple keynote speech on iTunes, right? Everyone that was on yesterday.
I don't. Mm-hmm. I'm not exactly crazy about Apple, so I read the news on the websites and I judge the releases or whatever. But I don't really need to watch anybody on a stage.
And then it's who does it professionally, creates a good content in each city.
Sure.
And then it can grow from there. You can build other content. But right now, podcasting and this type of media is not niched down to city by city.
So YouTube has had live streaming for quite a while. Usually you would have to have quite a number of followers to be able to live stream. Then they added the whole Google Hangouts, on-air aspect of it, which changed that to a degree. But they recently launched YouTube Gaming because they tried to buy Twitch, and Twitch sold to Amazon instead. So, of course, YouTube rolled out a competitor in like 2 months. That is, I think it is competitive with Twitch. It has a huge following because everybody who does Minecraft videos, they're on YouTube. That's where most of their followers actually are. So it's pretty big. YouTube Gaming. I'm probably going to do some live streaming at some point on YouTube Gaming.
One thing you might want to look at is for our podcast, we use a thing called Restream.io, and we do one feed to the Restream, and then it simultaneously sends it out to YouTube Gaming, Ustream, Twitch,
Nice.
and Hitbox. You can have it rebroadcast all of your things without having to do multiple feeds to each one.
You have a podcast?
Yeah, it's about
What is it?
it's about H1Z1. It's a
Oh, okay.
infection H1Z1 podcast.
It's a survival zombie game. So like Rust, if anyone knows what Rust is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of YouTube. I have 390 subscriptions, and yes, I can't watch every release of all those videos. But then again, I don't want to watch every release of all those videos, because just because you like something doesn't mean you like everything they produce. There's only a few content producers where everything they release is great. You know, I was just thinking, new media is showing the rise of what I would call like personality content. Like, look at BuzzFeed. Like BuzzFeed Video, like their entire platform is personality content. Like, nobody's watching it because it's bringing them new info. They're bringing it because the individual people involved are interesting, and being able to like see their opinions on things. And YouTube in general, with the whole video logging thing. Video logging has people used to joke about video logs as like some kind of like backroom thing that they finally devolved to just doing video logs, and now it's like a legitimate format, and people are making their living on YouTube talking at a webcam.
But look at Twitch though too. Most of the people that are being watched on Twitch are not being watched because of the games they're playing.
Oh no, absolutely
I mean,
not.
sometimes it's because of how good they are at a game, but usually it's because of their personality.
Oh, of course, yeah.
It's totally the personality, and I think even with like our podcast, the guy that I do the podcast with are so opposites that people just don't play the game anymore, but they sit and they enjoy watching and listening because of our interactions on it. So I think that's what it comes down to keep people is it's got to be the personality that they're attracted to, not whatever you're talking about.
Like, yeah, most of the YouTubers I follow, it's mostly because of personality. The other ones are based on just pure talent and skill. Like, I follow a lot of music, musicians and whatnot on YouTube.
I dropped a link into a YouTube that has 13 million downloads, and it's my cousin. He's an adjunct professor and teaches math in Loyola in Southern California, and he does an April Fool's joke on his class. And I wish we could have figured out a way to take advantage of that 13 million downloads. There's a way to do that.
Is it not monetized?
It has ads.
It's monetized, yeah. No, it's monetized, but that's not much. But the real strength is if you can put some message yourself into that.
You can.
Leading them to a podcast, things of that nature.
You could if you edited it.
Well,
you should have edited it. You should have edited it first. If you look at it,
you can put it to where there's overlays and things. You can have it to where it does a call to action at the end or during it.
He's definitely not taking it. I talked to him. I had him on my show, Timelines. We definitely blew it. He's had 6 million on. He just does an April Fool's joke once a year in his class.
Yeah.
Well, he's got 33,000 subscribers. He definitely has a platform that he would be able to monetize.
He's got a company signed out with. He's getting $600 or $700 a month.
Yeah, I mean, he should even sign up for Patreon. Like Patreon, I love the concept of Patreon. Like, for example, there's these two brothers, Hank and John Green, and they're basically like the pillar of the YouTube community. They're the essential pillars. They founded VidCon, which is
VidCon.
Yeah, right. So they founded VidCon.
Huge.
Yeah,
Anaheim.
Yeah, like John Green is an author who's written a bunch of very successful young adult novels that have been made into movies. And Hank Green does SciShow on YouTube. And whenever I talk about Patreon, I have to mention that SciShow makes $21,000 a month on Patreon.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying that to say they're putting a lot of that money back into what they're making. Like, not $21,000. I'm sure there's some profit involved, obviously, but they are putting it back in, and that's what's great about it. And that's one show. They have like 5 different shows, and they're all making a similar amount of money. So you can make. I remember there was this website called Social Blade, and it would like figure out how much money every YouTuber made based on their amount of views and the average, advertising revenue. And it was a big deal because Equals 3 was making like over. There's several YouTubers making over $1 million a year in advertising. In theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely some like PewDiePie apparently is worth $3 million or something like that. So
what's that? What is it?
There's a YouTuber named PewDiePie. You wouldn't like him. He's primarily liked by people between the age of 13 and 19.
Yeah, my daughters watch
YouTube. I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah.
They're hooked on somebody. There's some family who was in Los Angeles, LA, and they moved to Idaho. You probably know. I don't know if you know them up there. They apparently have done pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just a family that they watch. It's crazy. They do a little. The other thing too is you don't like Apple products, but the iPhone is getting so good at video.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's finally catching up to Android.
The only thing I can say is you got Apple stores in most every big city. And instead of me training people, I can shoot them over that direction. I said, here, get your training on Apple.
Right.
And I was a design build engineer. I have PCs out the wazoo out in the garage stacked up in an Exchange server. So it's just easier with an Apple for most people.
Yeah.
Unless they're PCs and they can't get in their brain the Apple systems.
So this is like one of my favorite things right now with the information that Apple just announced or whatever. And I remember seeing this comic actually, I think, but basically a webcomic 3 years ago predicted the Apple Pro keyboard because the Surface came out, and if you've ever actually used the Surface, just do it because the keyboard is amazing. It's like it's a feat of science.
That's so funny.
Yeah, right. And the Apple keyboard is essentially exactly the same. And it's kind of funny that most of the people I know are pretty well-rounded, so they realize that technology existed before. But I can imagine there's so many people that are praising the innovation and creativity of Apple.
Well, Apple always does that. They took their WYSIWYG system from HP. Mac. They take and improve it.
The argument is that Apple's not first, but they do it better.
Yeah, and they improve it. That's exactly what they do. They're out there, and that's their culture. They improve what's out there.
The only thing that they got wrong is they said WWDC, but otherwise,
yeah,
spot on.
Yeah, I know, right?
even to the year, it's hilarious.
Right. Yeah,
I missed something. What's the WWDC?
Worldwide Developers Conference. In that in the little cartoon or comic, they said WWDC 2015 when actuality was Apple Announcement 2015, but still, right. They pretty much nailed it.
Yeah,
good mark.
We could at this point we could now provide worldwide free energy based on the rotational energy of Steve Jobs in his grave.
Oh, because of Apple Pencil?
Well, Apple Pencil, Apple's is secretly not working, but actually working on a television, which is another thing that Apple will never release. So, it'll be interesting. I wonder if it will in some way be the death of Apple, just like Steve Jobs was the resurgence of Apple, because they were faltering before he came back, and now that he's gone, I mean, don't get me wrong, like they're doing things, and the Apple Pencil in itself there's nothing essentially wrong with it. Most people are complaining about the cost, and obviously if you have an iPad Pro, which is already like $1,200,
yeah, they're expensive products.
Hey, it's James. How's it going, James?
Hey, I'm going to get off and let someone else come in. Yeah. You guys are really, really a good bunch. I learned a lot today.
Good to meet you,
I'll be listening. Well, I'm going to reset my office up a little bit and do some editing and listen to you guys. Hey, thanks. Good meeting you all.
See you both.
Track you all.
Yeah.
Brian,
you're mobile? Okay.
If you ever get down to Reno, look me up. I'll buy you breakfast.
All right, sounds good.
I need to get my friend Victor in here sometime. Victor. Yeah, my friend Victor. I used to work for Download Squad, which was a weblogs app, AOL blog or whatever, and so Victor Agreda, or Agreda, I don't actually know how it's pronounced actually, was the editor-in-chief of the unofficial Apple weblog, and he's recently become pretty critical of Apple and whatnot. It'd be really interesting to get him into this space. I think that he would be really good. He does a lot of YouTube streaming and stuff now. If anyone wants to join, feel free to click join, and I will approve it, most likely, probably. So,
unless you're an egg with no information, right? Or even you approve of eggs, too?
Yeah. I like how every I like how every network has their own version of
Newbie.
Well, no, I'm not even going to say what's the term? It's not xenophobia, but fear of immigrants.
Okay.
Right. That's essentially what it is, right? It's like,
okay.
That's one of those blue heads.
Like a shaming.
Yeah. It's like, that's an egg. How about we, instead of saying like, hey, you should really get a profile photo so you don't look like the default avatar. We're just like, you stupid egg, get out of here.
That's what I say right there. Crack your egg.
I mean, if they're in here, they're obviously more than an egg, more than likely, because they may have just created their Twitter account so they could use this service.
Right.
So,
right.
Like lots of people on here, Twitter is not a primary means of. I mean, I use Twitter, but it's not my. Facebook is now my primary network. It used to be Google Plus. I used to put a lot of effort into Google Plus, and then for a while, Google Plus was automatically posting. Like anytime I made a comment on a YouTube video, went to Google Plus, so I was using it that way. They just got rid of that feature, so my usage of Google Plus,
Now your feed's dead.
Yeah, it's probably going to be pretty dead for a while. Like I mentioned the other day that I missed Hangouts, and someone says, "Why? It's still there." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's impossible. It's impossible to find an actual Hangout going on. Everybody just assumes that they don't exist because they can't be found, and it's basically Google never liked the way people actually wanted to use Hangouts." If you see all their advertising, it's always like all these like college dudes like playing disc golf, and they'll be like, when you look at their like things where they advertise circles, how many people are in their circles? 3, 15, 5, it'll be like bros from college will be one of the names of the circles. Like they don't want you to know 3,000 people that you have circled into different categories based on their interests. They want you to connect with people that you know in real life, which nobody wants to do because they're already on Facebook. And unless you're a power user, you're not using multiple networks. You're using one.
Yeah. This is a lot of what I guess what Canopy used to be for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, that whole index of here's the current Hangouts going on. Well, Blabs, sorry.
So Hangout Canopy, for those that do not know, was basically an extension that allows you to find public Hangouts and also Hangouts shared by your friends. It would basically scrape through your streams and get that information. It was infinitely useful, and it really it was like the killer app for Google+. I really do believe. And unfortunately, it's not available anymore. But at one point, there was the golden age of Google Hangouts for sure.
That was it.
And then there was another one that worked in a different way, used a whole lot of resources, but it was still pretty effective too. Yeah, no, I mean, it worked. It worked well, and I appreciated that app too. It worked in a different way though, and it was a little bit more resource intensive, but it was still good, and I appreciated it being there. But yeah, it's impossible to find Hangouts now, and it's clear that it's not something that Google is ever going to change. So,
now what about when this gets full though? Like right now, we see how many labs are happening. Is there a point where it is an endless list?
What happens when there's like 100 labs out there or 200?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm still involved in Hangouts in some capacity. Like I every once in a while I get the occasional thing, but I'm never going to wear this shirt though, probably, because like look what's on the front. It's like this is like way too cutesy for me to like ever wear as a dude.
See, they sent me like a drink thermos and some other stuff.
Yeah, you know what I want? Somebody had I think Brad had it was like a tea thermos that was made out of like some like bulletproof friggin' glass that you could drop, like insulated. I would love to have stuff like this, not stuff like this, and like they sent me a Plus port. Really? Like you're going to kill Google Hangouts and then send me a Plus port?
Yeah, I have that too. I don't know where
I'm thankful. I love Google Plus. I want it to succeed, but at the same time, I regret a lot of decisions and people that have left the company that were kind of hearts of the various hearts of like there were people from Google Plus streams that worked on the actual feed that were really important that left. Google allowed to leave the company. If they really cared, they could have made them happy enough to not leave.
It's no longer their priority.
Right.
What's interesting to me is that other than, and I'd call you hardcore users of Google Plus or Hangouts, many of us I didn't even know that Hangouts, outside of the ones that you create when you want to call somebody and have a meeting, even existed.
Yeah,
right.
because it used to be that those didn't exist. Right. And they were public Hangouts. Well, you could limit people, but they weren't considered a one-on-one Hangout.
Originally, Hangouts was technology that Google used to communicate among the different Google offices, right? So it was kind of like meant as this platform for, people that know each other to communicate on things. And it worked very well as that. And then once you actually release a product to public, you find out that people use it in a different way than you intended. Right. Yeah. So like Hangouts, like people were doing public Hangouts and like literally 350 people would join a chat room over the course of a chat being active. And that's pretty crazy. I haven't even seen, rarely have I seen that many viewers join even on this platform.
No, you don't see that many. I mean, you see like
150 sometimes,
Right. And maybe there's like 86 or 90 people in the room when the founder's on here or the CTO.
Right. Yeah. Or one of the various talking heads. There's a few different talking heads that have found this platform.
Joel Comm and other people.
Right. Robert Stern and a couple other people.
With Canopy, we'd have about 7,000 simultaneous connections to the server as far as people using it and looking at how many Hangouts were happening at once. And I don't see nearly that number on here.
I mean, this platform hasn't been around that long. So, a question from Gilbert SM. Gilbertism. Okay, sure. So, what existing platforms do you see streaming video has been most disruptive to? That's an excellent question. Obviously, television is the single most disruptive, just because Netflix, and also
video rental stores.
All right, yeah, you're right. I don't know why I didn't think that. It destroyed the concept of the video rental. It put Blockbuster out of business. Hollywood Video went out of business. I think Family Video is still around. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Redbox is kind of came in and scraped clean the carcasses of the video rental industry.
And they're not even really sending out videos anymore. That's an afterthought. It used to be that's what it started as. We'll send a video to your door.
Right. And Redbox tried to do a streaming service for a little while in conjunction with Verizon.
I was on that. They didn't have a good selection.
Yeah.
It's the selection thing is really, really, really hard to do because the media providers are not willing to work with you. It's the fact that Netflix has any movies at all is mind-blowing whenever you consider how hard it actually is to do that. People are predicting the death of Netflix because Netflix just lost the licensing from Epix, which is basically Epix is the cable industry. In their video on demand library, essentially. So, but they said that whenever Netflix lost Stars.
Right, and they said that, and because they're going to lose the Lionsgate films.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish they wouldn't. Lionsgate obviously has a lot of things I don't want to watch, but at the same time, Netflix does have the original content. It has TV series, which I think is someone tried to join and then there we go. He keeps exiting before I can accept it. So, but yeah, it's I don't think Netflix is going anywhere. I kind of see them as a long-term company. I don't see them being acquired. I think at the moment they're mostly beyond acquisition. I mean, it could happen if somehow the perfect match just said, hey, can we buy you? then maybe it would happen. But I don't foresee that really happening. They don't need it. They have plenty of capital, plenty of money, plenty of resources and engineers. It's always been interesting to me that Netflix runs on the Amazon cloud platform,
but they directly compete.
Right, and of course Amazon doesn't care, and that's what makes Amazon a great company, because they do not care. And Netflix directly contributes to Amazon code that probably makes Amazon Prime a better service. So it's a very interesting thing indeed.
Well, Netflix is paying Amazon monthly,
right?
So they're getting a cut of that,
right. So they're getting some money out of it.
Well, I mean, the real big secret is Amazon never considered Prime to compete with anything. Prime is basically just a value-added service for their content distribution system.
But if you look at the content they have, it covers a lot of what Netflix actually has, and they have that original content.
And plus, there's no way Netflix does not have David the Gnome, so lose Netflix.
They do have a lot of content that Netflix doesn't have.
Right. Like I use that as an example. I used to watch David the Gnome on Nickelodeon. And it's on Amazon, which is actually Amazon has a lot of Nickelodeon content. I think they have a deal with them.
Well, Amazon's in a unique space though, because if they don't provide it for free, they can rent it to you, or they can sell it to you. So it's like Amazon, you think there's a lot of content there, but it's not all free.
Here's the thing though. Amazon is kind of like the iTunes of video. They're essentially if you have a band, you can't say, you know what? No, I don't want to put my album on iTunes. That's not a decision you make for the most part. It happens occasionally, but it's not really something that happens. That's like saying, no, I don't want you to be able to buy my movie on Amazon, right? So it's like, well, if you want to sell your movie on Amazon, maybe you should put it on Amazon Prime. I'm just saying, so like Amazon has a lot of power in that space that Prime could instantly make a move to be like a huge competitor to Netflix. I mean, now to me, it's a complementary service, I think.
I have them both.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I have them both also.
You can have two services, Amazon and Amazon Prime and Netflix. That's a reasonable facsimile for to replace
cable.
Television, cable. Has anyone ever used what's it called? Let's see. There's a streaming TV platform, and I'm totally forgetting the name of it. And it's just absolutely amazing. I actually have the app on my tablet, so let me look it up.
Plex?
No, not Plex. Not Plex. That's more of a media server kind of deal.
Yeah, that's what I use it for.
This is actually like a TV platform, and what's nice about it is that like they've tried to do this before, where they make channels and things like that. But what about Netflix doesn't replace television for you? If you had to,
local stations, sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a fair reasoning there. I'm just trying to find the name of this app, and I will be right with you guys here.
So Gilbertism is asking, so is live streaming being disruptive to produce streaming and or more traditional produced video platforms? And I think the market, like if you look at Twitch, the market of people that are watching Twitch, I mean, there's a lot of people watching various games. I mean, quite a few people, but those are mostly high school kids. I mean, it's a lot of younger kids that maybe aren't going to be spending money on anything that these other non-live ones are going to be expecting.
Right.
So I don't know. I think they're kind of two different audiences for the live content.
All right. I just remembered the name of the service I'm thinking about. So Pluto TV, has anyone ever used it?
I never have.
So Pluto TV is really, really interesting. And it's Pluto.tv. And what they do is they build channels out of like publicly available things like YouTube and Vimeo, things that they can embed, right? And these channels are based on different categories. Like there's a stand-up comedy one, for example. But here's what's great about it, and this is like a Steve Jobs level innovation, and that is whenever you switch to something, the programs start at certain times. So programs start at 8 o'clock, 8:30, 8:15. And if you switch to it after that, you get the linear time so it's a linear format. So it's a YouTube video, but you might join it and it might be 3.5 minutes into the video.
To make you feel like it's live.
Yeah.
Like
you can
you're watching TV.
Yeah, you can choose to watch it from the beginning. But at the same time, you get that like channel flipping feel, right? It's like, because really you can't, right, like YouTube videos. Whenever they make a thumbnail for a YouTube video, do they use the first frame in the video usually? No, they don't. They find something that's visually interesting. So with Pluto TV, it automatically dumps you into something that is much more likely to be visually interesting than, let's say, the first frame of the video or waiting for it to actually get through the introduction. So it's a really, really cool platform. I would really love to see it add Netflix into, like, can you imagine if Netflix did this, where you could flip through, let's say, they take every TV show that is on Netflix and then they did that. Right? They could even put each TV show like on the thing, and you would jump to an episode.
Like categories.
Yes.
You can even do it where it's categories of television types, like comedy.
Right. Like, hey, look, All in the Family comes on at 4 p.m., and yeah, you can go watch the episode. But part of the problem with Netflix is how much time do you spend on the selection process just looking for something. And, I call channel surfing selection through apathy, right? Because you turn the channel until something stops annoying you as much as everything else. That's really all there is to it.
What if they left that up to people that are members of it? Let's say you, who has a very unique taste in videos and movies, right?
Make your own channel, yeah.
You can make your own channel that then you can make a playlist for. People can jump in and see that, and you're getting your curated version of that channel.
It's almost like on Amazon where they have like the page that you made. When you're looking at different things, it pulls up different products that are similar. What your I forget the brand name for the DVR that used to do it when people would record things, and then it would start to ask you, hey, I noticed that you recorded this. Do you want to record this also?
TiVo. Yeah, I have a TiVo.
Right, TiVo. And that was a big joke that my TiVo thinks that I'm gay and stuff like that,
Right, yeah. I mean, actually I like that. And a lot of customers, because I work in the cable industry, a lot of my customers don't like that the TiVo records things because they're thinking, oh, it's taken away from my storage space. And I don't think of it that way because, one, if you record anything, it will record over the TiVo suggestions because anything you record has a higher priority than anything that the device automatically see mainstream. All right, so I apologize. So Det Shepherd says, I'm looking at Pluto for the first time. I'm seeing mainstream noise. Where is the small guy able to use it? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Is he saying as far as getting small guys content on there?
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot of channels on here. Let's see here. There used to be a whole lot of channels. Like, for example, that's an excellent question. I bet you there is. But they have like a comedy channel.
They're not going to be featured on what they consider the front page.
Right. I don't know. I haven't looked into the question, but I bet you that they have a page that talks about that. So let's see if I could figure that out here. So I'm on the About Us page. Usually that's where it leads you in the direction where you need to go. Partner with us. Here we go. Align yourself. Distribution partnerships, content partnerships. Here you go. I'll just go ahead and link you to this.
So they've got 906 channels.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and share this in the chat here. It's pretty. All right. So digital TV itself has a little bit of a time lapse. Whenever you go from one channel to another, it takes a second. And Pluto is like, if you got a broadband connection, it's pretty decent. I really like the stand-up comedy thing because you can again, it starts everything on a linear format, right? So everything starts at the 15-minute increments. So you'll turn to it like the comedy channel, and it'll be in the middle of someone's set. And then if you listen to it for a second, you're like, oh, this guy's really good. You can then watch it from the beginning, which is great. But yeah, I really love Pluto TV because for me it fixes a problem that has existed for a really long time. And how do you replicate the feel of television in a digital format? Netflix, it takes really long time to decide on anything to watch on Netflix. That's why there's so many apps trying to fix that. They're like, I have one on my phone, Netflix Roulette, and you just put in what do you want to watch, and you hit a button and it shows you a movie. And I think Pluto.tv really fixes something. I don't know, like it loads pretty fast for me because on Pluto TV, but I have a really broadband connection, so that might be the situation there. But
yeah, mine was pretty instantaneous. But I have 100 megabits, so
yeah. And Pluto.tv has an Android app, and I believe it has apps for like the Fire TV and all the it may have a Roku app actually at this point. I'm not exactly sure. Yep. Yeah, you can cast Pluto to a Roku, so it actually works on the road on that. But that's the Chromecast.
Load it up for me fast too.
Yeah, it's a really nice service, and if you actually, it's got a decent number of channels on it, and I like it. It replicates the TV experience very nicely.
See, I've got a Fire TV. I wonder if they probably have an app on there.
Oh, I'm sure there's an Android app. So,
well, but they limit you to the Amazon store,
right.
So I'd have to side load it or do something strange to get it to load. If it's not on the Amazon store.
Yeah, I almost guarantee that it is, and it is.
Okay.
It's on the Amazon store. Really nice app. Again, it's something I rather think pulls off what it's trying to do very well. So, actually, one of the guys that worked on that site is here on Blab because I was like looking at his profile, and he works for a like a startup incubator type thing, and they worked on Pluto.tv. So, yeah, it loads up pretty quick here. I like it. It's a good app, but yeah, I mean that's kind of replicating the TV experience. I think someone said, "How does live streaming compete?" Or what? It wasn't compete. What was the word they used?
Disrupt.
Disrupt. Right. In a lot of ways, live streaming, anything that takes your eyes, is disrupting anything else that takes your eyes.
Right, because people that are on here, people that are on here that are watching Blab, that are talking on Blab, they're not consuming other types of media.
Right. Yeah. Right. You can only consume. Multitasking is a myth. So it's you can only especially language-based things. Like I'm really bad. I cannot read and talk at the same time. Like I can physically do it, but I'm not saying prose. If I'm trying to talk to you while at the same time I'm reading something, it's going to be very basic what I'm going to say.
You're splitting your processing.
Yeah.
Well, it's sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I have an issue with watching foreign films with subtitles.
Oh.
I can't watch them for a long time. Somebody sent me a video, and I'm sure it's hilarious, of this guy that's a German literary critic doing a literary criticism of the IKEA catalog. I'm sure it's hilarious, but I really couldn't stand watching this guy talk German and having to read the subtitles for more than about 5 minutes, unfortunately.
So, podcaster home. The reason why I bring up Pluto.tv and why I like it is that, one, it replicates the channel guide format. But here's the thing. It actually has programming blocks. So whenever you go to a channel, it's not just playing a video from the start. It's playing the video from wherever it is in the block. So that program starts at 8. If you tune in at 8:05, it's going to be 5 minutes into that program. To me, that is beautiful. Okay? Because TV with television channel surfing, I call that selection through apathy. You turn the channel until something doesn't annoy you anymore.
Yeah.
And that's never been replicated. Netflix, you have to make a decision on Netflix that you can't just look at things until things stop annoying you, because you have to watch it from the beginning. And it's really hard to see whether you're going to like something if you watch it from the beginning. But if you're in the middle of an action movie and there's explosions and guys punching people in the face, you're like, hey, this will be something I want to watch. So you then watch it from the beginning and it's fine. I would love to see Pluto.tv make an agreement with Amazon or Netflix so that they can put movies on there as well. Like if you're like sign in with your Netflix account and then it automatically adds movie channels based off of your interest. Like,
right.
Oh, dude, oh my God, Netflix. You know how Netflix has the auto-generated categories? Make them all channels. How epic would that be? That would be a killer app, and I should probably talk to Netflix.
allow it to add apps, just like other services do.
Right? Yeah. Like, for example, the cable industry has what they call TV Everywhere, and that's what allows you to stream content on websites. Can you imagine?
Which is another reason I hate Hulu now. Anyway.
Right. No, I mean, I work for a cable company, so I get HBO Go and Stars and all those things, and I can go to anything. Yeah, it's a really good app, Podcaster Home. I should probably look and see what your actual name is. That might be a good idea if it's listed. Bill.
It's Bill.
Okay.
It's Bill. He was in there before.
Yeah. Bill. Sorry. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that app, and to me, it's I don't know. It's kind of a killer app. I think that, for example, if you were making your own Android-based media center, that would be an awesome app to include in your like package. You know?
Yeah.
Robert, I have a question.
Sure.
And this just generally sort of jumping in terms of that site that you talked about earlier. I've never ever seen it before until you just mentioned it. I went over there and checked it out, and I said, "Well, it just seems like mainstream noise." How would you compare being able to sort of jump into a feed or whatever at the 2.6 minute mark and then making a decision to go, I'm going to watch the whole thing, as compared to if I pick up a physical book and you say to me, this is a really great book, I'm not going to go to the middle of the book and then decide whether I want to read the whole thing. And I'm not bashing on you. I'm just, what's your feedback on that? And I know a physical book is pretty different from digital consumption, but it's really the same thing. Does that make sense?
Right. That's an excellent point. There's two kinds of people. There's people who read the summaries on TV in their TV guide, and there's people who flip through the channels until something appeals to them.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the flip through the channels until something appeals to them. If I don't have a direct thing that I'm trying to find, you know. So I think that both can exist. I think it's something that can coexist just fine. With like Netflix, for example, it has the summaries. You know, you can read the summaries on Netflix. It's just I think that Pluto. I think that's a unique. It's not even a unique. It's replicating something from a traditional media that I think is nice. It's kind of like how people freaked out with Flipboard. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a digital magazine.
Right.
People have been trying to do digital magazines for years, but it just never really took off very well.
Right, and there were other ones that tried it too at the same time, like Circa that went out. Yeah.
Right. And Google had their thing for a while. I don't remember what it was called because I forgot because they killed it.
What if Amazon made it so like every single video that they had, even the ones that are paid for, you could watch the first 10 minutes of, and then you could have it to where it would go through and you could flip through and see the first 10 minutes, because that's the thing is they have a lot of videos on there that I don't know if I really want to watch, and I don't want to pay to rent it unless I know that I might be interested. Don't you think it would help their business model if they allowed you to watch the first 10 minutes of anything? I mean, as long as it's like an hour to an hour and a half, 2 hour movie.
Sure.
You know, you would get people that would start it just watching because it's free, and then they would be hooked and they would pay for it, when those people would not pay to watch anything.
I think free is bad, actually. It can be a teaser.
Yeah, exactly. But that's part of marketing.
Yeah, it leads to. I mean, you know, it's kind of like what is this Gary Vaynerchuk's thing of, you know, jab, 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 hook, or whatever. You know, tease, 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 deliver. It kind of gets to that. I think a lot of people on media on internet are sort of addicted to free. And let's just say I go to your website and you're teaching me how to do something. You're going to feed it to me in little bitty crumbs, but you're always never going to show me the tamale. That's the typical model. And if I want the tamale, I have to pay for the tamale. But I think what people have sort of done is they're like, I'm so damn smart. I am going to gather all of the breadcrumbs and I'm going to get the tamale without paying for it. And that can be sort of frustrating. But the thing that's missing from that, if you just pay for the tamale, is talking to a human being like we're doing right now. And that's what Blab is like. The video piece is adding this human element where you can see my eyes, you can see my face, and you can say, yes, genuine or not, whatever it is that you use to judge it, compared to going to a website, looking at some text, and then making a decision to I've been to websites where you're making a decision to make a download and you're spending $1,500. That's huge. That's massive. It's gigantic. And if you have the ability to sell that based on not talking to anyone, I applaud you as a marketer, because we're talking about television and media. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
You know, it's about cost benefit analysis. You know, sometimes you can make more money by giving something away than you can make by charging it for whatever price. It's kind of like, you know, in Marketing 101, they basically talk about how many pizzas can you sell for $10 versus $30. You know, you can sell enough $10 pizzas that you'll make more profit than if you charge $30 a pizza. And you know, I think that with providing things for free, I think Patreon is something I like to mention all the time, just because Patreon, you're still providing the content for free, but the people that are paying for the content, you know, are getting some extra things that you may or may not actually care about. If you care about, subscribe to the content and you'll get it yourself. But in general, the meat and potatoes is available for free. There's so many things. There's a group of 3 people that were paid. They were being paid by IGN. They worked for IGN, which is they used to be a magazine and then became a website, and is a game review site. And they quit their job at IGN so that they can basically do live streaming of games. And now they make $24,000 a month on Patreon. And that's just Patreon. That's not including YouTube views. And I'm sure they have sponsorship. Everybody has sponsorship now. Let me just say audible.com. Has anyone ever heard of audible.com? Thing you've heard
of? Part of Amazon.
Yeah, right. Like a lot of things are sponsored by IGN. We used to get cheat codes. Absolutely. I used to love their walkthroughs. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And again, it's the kind of the transition from traditional media to new media. A lot of these websites, they used to be magazines. Then magazines kind of are not as successful now. So a lot of those have transitioned to websites. But yeah, I don't know how people existed before. I mean, I existed before YouTube, but in a lot of ways, I don't know how people existed before YouTube, including myself. You know, I ask myself this question all the time. If I could no longer access Netflix or TV or anything, and I could only access YouTube, would I be happy? And the answer is yes. Like I would be happy with what is available on YouTube. Because it's such a massive amount and variety of content.
Well, let me take
something like Netflix though, and they raise the bar in expectations though, as far as what they're providing and how they provide it.
Right.
Let me ask you this question: if we're talking about TV and media in terms of marketing, let's just assume we're selling something. I'm not saying we are, but let's just say we are. What if all of us on this call woke up tomorrow and the internet didn't exist anymore? And I don't mean that the economy is going to crash. I just mean the internet didn't exist anymore. I have to ask myself this question. Do I have the ability to talk to people eye to eye, toe to toe, and sell or promote whatever it is that I did before the internet showed up?
You know, you should always use the richest form of communications available to you. You know, of course, the richest form would be person to person. So, you know, that's not going anywhere. You know, I used to work for Sears. I had a job as a salesperson for Sears. I have a lot of respect for Sears because they train their employees so they actually understand the stuff that they're selling. Like I had to go through 55 hours of training on chainsaws, lawnmowers, exercise equipment, power tools. Like you actually understand like all the technology and terminology. So many sales companies, they just throw people on the floor. And most people, when they're under pressure, they don't admit that they don't know something, they lie.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I call it puffery because they're basically puffing themselves up and pretending that they know something and hiding the fact that they don't. Never be ashamed if you don't know something. You know, you should be confident that you can provide an answer. So you can still be confident even if you don't know something. But a lot of people never recognize that, or they're never told that. So I mean, person to person is the richest form of communication. I would actually say that writing a letter is the second richest form of communication. Now, that sounds absurd. You would think something else would be better, but it has more personal. It's more personal. It requires more effort on your part, and it has more emotional impact. So a letter is the second form of communications that you can do. And then I would say instant message. Some form of instant message is the third, because it's instantaneous, right? So you can get this rapport building where you can actually roll off of what somebody says and change your emotional load or the words that you use based on how they react. So and then after instant, and I put text messaging, that's an instant message format as well. So as far as I'm concerned, instantaneous synchronous communication, and then email is like the least personal, because nobody, most people are not reading their email. I mean, everyone's like, oh, inbox 0, right? So they're more concerned about getting their inbox to 0 than they are about the actual communication. So email is very impersonal, and I generally think people should avoid it when possible.
Yeah, let me share a quick sort of a story. I've been in the money business for 15 years, and when I got in, it was the phone rang all the time when it was busy. Not always, but when it was busy, the phone rang, and you just did that.
Sure.
And then it started to evolve a little bit to email, and then faxing, and then it got into scanning and forwarding and all this. So I'm at work here recently. I'm still in the money business, and it's email now, which is perfectly fine. I don't really care how we get what we need to get. Let's just get what we need to get and go forward. But this is what I find now. Most people, real estate agents, borrowers, human beings, people that I'm dealing with, this is what they love. If let's say the loan process takes 5 weeks, if I call them one time and say, hey, this is Greg, I'm just letting you know I'm here. This is my email, my fax, whatever. Call me if you need me. At the end of that process, no matter how many documents I ask them to produce, no matter how much they think their privacy has been violated, it's just a process to borrow money. They're like, you called me. It's that human thing. And they just go, thank you. It's powerful. It's powerful.
No, absolutely. The thing about marketing and sales that is so great is that it applies to everything.
Yeah.
I always say that everything is sales. And a lot of times people will question that, because there's this dichotomy, the dichotomy between sales and customer service. And they kind of exist on a plane, right? Where, the direct sales, and then the direct customer service, and you kind of want to move in between the two. But, for example, you apply for a job. I always call the HR person 3 days after I submit my application, after I finish any work that I need to do as far as for background checks and things like that. Constantly contacting, you increase your mind share with that person. And when you increase your mind share, they're more likely to pick up your resume and say, this person has been contacting me. They're obviously interested in the job. And then, there's lots of candidates for the job who meet the requirements, but maybe you'll be the one that they remember.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely valid thing, staying in touch with people. Like, for example, I love it when companies call me after I buy something. I love that. It's like, hey, you just, like Amazon does that, how did you like this product that you bought? Like those types of things are really, I think, value-added customer service tips and whatnot. Like, for example, the company I work for, we are actually there's a channel, one of the channels that we offer. It's going to be showing some games exclusively on one channel, like sports. And we are actually proactively calling people who ordered it last year to see if they wanted to add it back to their account. And I think that is great, because they wanted to watch this college football team last year, so we're assuming that they want to watch it this year, and they may have forgotten to do that. So by doing that, we're actually, taking an extra step. It's amazing how many things are easy to forget about, and whenever you forget about that stuff, it's really painful. if you miss out on something that you like. But I'm sorry, I'm kind of blathering on at this point, so I apologize. Someone please interrupt me.
Yeah. I work in support, so I run into the risk of, because I can do 90% of it remotely.
Yeah.
And just with an app, I jump in and fix it. And so I have to make myself go to the client and have that one-on-one FaceTime, just so that they realize that there's a person,
right?
That's there, that's helping them, and that keeps that relationship. If I did it all remote, they just view me as the person that fixes it, and you can have anybody do that. But because I know those people, that would keeps it to where I have clients for 10 years.
I wish I could really find something from Disney about this, but Disney has a customer service technique that they use. They call the magic flow. And I've actually been trained on it at different places that I've worked. Whenever I worked at Quest, they trained me on it. And where I worked at Apple, they trained me on it. And basically, whenever somebody says that they need something, you tell them what they told you. So you basically restate what they asked for. You tell them that you're going to help them, so you're taking ownership of the issue. You tell them what you're going to do. You tell them what you're doing. You tell them what you did. You restate their problem, and then you thank them. And it sounds like a lot of steps, but that customer is extremely satisfied whenever they leave the call. Like all right, Brian, I'm sure you understand this. Someone calls you, they say that there's a problem. You know the answer before they've even stopped talking. You tell them to do a thing, or you say that you fixed it. Are they going to believe you?
I've had people question me.
Exactly, right? You want to warm them up to accepting your answer. And doing that kind of thing really does help. Yeah,
I'll usually will restate the problem.
Exactly.
But in slightly different phrasing.
Sure.
And I say, is that what you're experiencing? And then they'll say yes, you get that confirmation. And then I say, usually I'll explain, okay, well, here's most likely why you're seeing this. I'll go through just a description of it, of what's causing the problem, and I'll fix it. And then I'll say, did you understand all that? Is there any questions you have? And then I say, thank you. And then that's it. So, I don't follow all those steps, but.
Right,
the names of the steps, because I did sales training at one point, and it's one of them is checking for understanding. That's the first part of what you were saying.
You both need to buy this book.
Customer satisfaction is worthless. Customer loyalty is priceless.
This is the best book on customer service you will ever read, guaranteed. And I'll link it in the comments.
Cool.
Yeah, but it's one of my. It has a lot of really, really, really good tips. Let's see here, customer satisfaction, and here we go. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions that relate to the topic, or even if they don't relate to the topic, it's okay to diverge occasionally. But yeah, absolutely, that's the link to the book. It's one of my favorite books, and I always recommend that people read it if they're involved in customer service, which means if you ever see a person at any point in your life during your job, then you're involved in customer service. So it's always a good thing. I'm going to go ahead and share this to Twitter again. Yeah, I see Armin is idling in the chat there. She hasn't said anything yet, but she's more than welcome to join if she has any questions or points of reference that she wants to make.
I'm going to drop out and come back in I have my oven on. And I have the pizza ready to put in. Good thing I didn't put it in. But
hey, look, well, you know. All right. Hello.
Hey, I'm tired. I stayed up way too late last night.
I'm sorry.
So I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. That's fine. You don't have to be in here. I just saw that you were listening, so.
I'm aware. Oh, you guys. I was up till like 4 or 5.
Were you blabbing?
No, I was appearing.
Oh, okay. Oh, appear.in. I went there once, but you can't really get the feel of a chat without actually being in a chat. So I just kind of joined it, and like my video's there, and I'm like, well, this is a thing. At some point, I'll have to use it for something for sure. But yeah, I like this platform. If nothing else, I think it's a really good way of recording a podcast. with different varied. At some point, I'm going to launch my podcast. I have the URL and domain and everything already. I just need to get the lead out. Yeah.
And what's it going to be? What is it going to be about?
My topic, the name of the podcast will be Wicked Tangent. So it's basically going to be about whatever I want to talk about, which is,
okay, cool.
Which is mostly I'm a huge technology enthusiast. Technology, social media, games, movies, pop culture. I mean, those are all things that I'm very interested in. And obviously, I from a career perspective, customer service and sales are things that I have a lot of interest in as well. See, a couple people have joined. Let's see here. We do appreciate anyone who's listening. Or
Wicked Tangent. Wicked appeals to my New England sensibilities.
Right? Wicked. Yeah. Well, Wicked Smart was already taken.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think of a wicked tangent as, a wicked tangent is one that's like unpredictable. It's just like it doesn't like for example, if you shoot a bullet in a wall, you probably expect it to ricochet in a certain direction.
Right.
The wicked one goes in a different direction than you expect.
It's like a wicked storm. You don't know which way it's going.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I use the word wicked a lot. So that's one of my favorite words. But yeah, Armin, did you want to just drop out of this? Or are you going to fall asleep?
Someone want to come in?
Huh?
Does someone want to come in?
Oh, no. Well, you're not. I wasn't sure whether you were actually going to participate or not. So, because you mentioned that you were tired, so I apologize.
Well, I'm just listening for a minute. But
that's fine.
To talk about. If I have something to say, I'll definitely say it, Robert.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I had nothing to say about customer service.
Sure, fair enough. Please don't take any offense. I was just, but no, absolutely. I mean, I started the topic as the evolution of television and media because I was in another blab, and they were talking about some things. I work in the cable industry, so I'd answered some questions about modems and Wi-Fi and things like that. But television and media is something that's very interesting to me, and I mean television as a format and not necessarily a platform. Television to me is just the concept of sitting down to watch a program.
Right, not necessarily something that's broadcast on an old school television.
Right, exactly. I mean, even the television industry itself, as far as the platform goes, is switching to IP over IP TV anyway. So whenever that happens, it's basically essentially the same as YouTube. Hello.
What's up?
How goes it?
There's two of you.
Right. Is one Chris and one Wilson? Is that how it works?
He's just showing me this thing. I'd never seen it before.
Oh,
okay. Welcome.
Yes. Big fan of Blab. It's a nice platform. It's functional, low friction interface. I love low friction.
I myself love friction.
I was going to say it depends.
Friction has its moments, but whenever it comes to applications, low friction is probably best.
What's going on?
Yeah. Like you ever see those like those pumps, and you got to charge the pump, so you have to pump it like a whole bunch of times before you can use something. Can you imagine if you had to do that with software? Where you had to do some like random like busy work before you could actually use it.
Like those really inefficient lights that you have to crank in order to get a little like a flashlight, one of those crankable flashlights.
Right. Well, they actually have the ones with the pumps too, so you can just kind of like do this, and like it charges up the battery. I think he means off topic by OTT. I'm not exactly sure what he means by OTT.
Yeah, so I'm not sure either.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, Paul, hop in. Tell us what OTT is.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm down with OTT, whatever that means. Over the top content, absolutely. Yeah, like the cable company. Over the top content is things like Netflix and Hulu and HBO Go, things like that.
Crackle.
Yeah, Crackle's weird. I don't know, but Crackle takes the model of Hulu and says, what if Hulu had more ads? That's really
Right.
What it does. It is free, and that's cool. But
That's true. They do have a lot of ads.
they have an excessive amount of ads.
I like Coffee with Comedians. I'm a Seinfeld fan, so.
I don't know. Seinfeld is incredibly out of touch. I have trouble. Like I like coffee. Getting coffee in cars with comedians. That's great, and I love being it. He did this thing on HBO that was a special. It was like him and Chris Rock and Louis C.K. And a couple other comedians talking about comedy, and that was really, really well done. Right. But yeah, over the top content is absolutely where it's at. We're actually going to be providing Hulu as over the top content with a lot of our cable box. Or we use we have some boxes from TiVo, and that's what we're using right now for that kind of stuff. And then we have like the regular old DVRs that everybody has. But we're going to be doing some, and we're switching to IPTV at some point because the company that I work for signed a deal like back in November with an OTT software provider. Yeah, Chromecast is really interesting. It doesn't really compare to like Roku and Fire TV or even Apple TV because it's kind of like you cast to it, right? So the actual Chrome of the device is on your tablet or on your Android. And Chrome is a term that means user interface. So the reason why Google Chrome is called Chrome, because the Chrome is the browser. That's the back button, the forward button, the things that you use to minimize and maximize it. That's all the Chrome. The thing that you actually see everything on, that's more like the canvas, the HTML canvas. So I use Chrome to refer to user interfaces. So just to explain that, but there's like no Chrome on a Chromecast. Chromecast just has the content. So you take this and you cast to the Chrome, and that's unique among platforms because you can do that with other ones, but they have user interfaces.
Hey man, hello. Where are you from?
Do you have anything to say about the evolution of television and media?
Yeah, I can talk with you about religion. What's your religion?
That's not
You're blabjacking, dude.
Yeah, that is not the topic of this conversation. So,
are you?
My religion is the evolution of television and media at the moment.
Are you Christian?
Not answering this question, sir. You have a good day.
Okay, can I ask you some?
No, not at this time. Sorry about that.
Wow, that's a first for me.
Don't get me wrong. That is a conversation I would have, but that is not a conversation I would have. And some people they go into things to be confrontational, and that's not what I'm about. So, but yeah, the evolution of television and media, that's more or less the subject that we're talking about here today. If you don't want to talk about that, you can certainly listen to it. If you don't want to listen to it, there's other blabs available and the entire internet. So
that's what's so great about the X button.
Right.
Or the X period.
All right, we got Bruce.
You're nicer than me. I'd have X'd him out a long time ago.
It's that customer customer service thing, right?
You gave him another 10 seconds.
Right.
You gave him a chance, and he asked that, "Are you a Christian?"
Ermine would have bounced him immediately.
Yeah, as soon as he walked in, she would have bounced him.
I would have at least given him no, because he cut you off. That's why I would have bounced him. I was like, I hate being cut off. Oh, with a passion.
I'm sorry. Sorry, Ermine. I don't mean to cut you off. So, you know what? When it comes to TV and media, I like it the way it was back in the old days, better than that, because, in my opinion, everything was, let's put it this way. We probably didn't speak about a lot of stuff that they talk about now. The commercials were a lot cooler back in the day when it came to, TV and stuff like that. And now it's a bunch of trash on TV when it comes to that stuff. And then as far as like the news and stuff, in my opinion, we get a bunch of garbage. They tell us what they want us to know, and that's it.
Well, here's the thing, right? Someone earlier had said that they missed Ozzie and Harriet, and I grew up. I'm not old enough that I watched Ozzie and Harriet, but I grew up whenever Nick at Night was like a thing. So Nickelodeon, would have like these older shows, and I watched a lot of them. And there's a lot of sitcoms from the 80s and 90s and stuff like that I watched. I think we're no longer innocent enough for Ozzie and Harriet.
No.
Like Ozzie and Harriet, they ignored life in a lot of, they presented you with this fictional concept of what, a marriage was or what a family was. And people want to see actual life problems, on shows. And I love whenever a show introduces those types of things and then solves them within the filling of the episode, because, you're watching the show because you want to feel positive karma. So whenever there's conflict resolution in a TV show, it makes you feel better by the end of the show. And I think that's what people want to escape. They don't want to delve into a fantasy, as much anymore. So I don't know if things like Ozzie and Harriet would be. Seventh Heaven was the last Ozzie and Harriet like show we have, and we know what happened to that. So
right.
So what do you think?
What happened?
What do you think about like this Housewives of Beverly Hills and all this other stuff that's out there?
That's my guilty pleasure. I love the Atlanta chicks. They are crazy.
Right. So just so you know, everything is terrible, and that's why reality television is popular. So everybody wants to feel better than they feel. People want to feel like they're better put together, that they have their life under more control, that they're more intelligent to other people, and reality television allows them to do that. It's kind of like, people rubbernecking at an accident on the road. They're trying to see what happened. They're, everybody loves a train wreck. I think that that type of reality television, drama vision, I think that's what draws people to that type of content. It just kind of mostly makes me sad. There's some reality TV I do watch. I was big into the Pawn Stars for a really long time, and I watch America's Got Talent because I like variety television. There's not as much variety television as there used to be, because now they're like, so you think you can sing, so you think you can dance. It's all about single things, and America's Got Talent has like ventriloquists and magicians and dancers and all kinds of different things on it. So I like that, kind of harking back to the Ed Sullivan Show to some degree. I would love to see a resurgence of the type of show that Ed Sullivan Show was. I remember like Johnny Cash had a show at one point, and he would have musicians come on and do skits, like that. That was just cool. And I would love to see that kind of thing again, but we don't really see it a whole lot. I would say that Jimmy Fallon, in the culture that he has created, is bringing that back in a lot of ways. Because Jimmy Fallon in a lot of ways compares almost directly to Johnny Carson more than any of the other hosts of late night television have, because he does all these different skits and whatnot. And he's a very genuine person. So, but yeah, that's what people like about reality television, I guess.
And I think just like Blab, everybody's free to change a channel. I mean, as far as the news, I think we are getting a diluted type of news now, but there are, because of the internet, so many other news sources that you can look to.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to watch the news on television. You can watch these other things on the internet. I mean, yeah, there are some people that aren't able to do that because of the digital divide, but that's getting less and less every year, I believe, as we go along. More people are on the internet.
Every day I see people saying they're quitting Facebook because they're tired of seeing all the negative vibes, and they're talking largely about like what some people call them social justice warriors, right? They're saying, oh, this terrible thing has happened, be aware of it. Here's the thing. The world is a terrible place. And just because you ignore that the world is a terrible place doesn't mean that it isn't. And I personally, it's, I'm a social justice warrior, deal with it. I think that should be, people say, what would Jesus do? Not talking about religion, just talking about if Jesus was alive right now, do you think he'd be a cool dude? Probably. Like he's not going to let people starve. He's going to try to better things as best as he can. And I think that people owe a debt to society to be part of it.
He would be a cool dude, but for a lot of people, he would look like he was a homeless dude.
Right.
And that might not be attractive to them. But as far as shutting things off or just ignoring things, we all have the capacity to do that. But people get so angry on Facebook. I'm in an interesting position. I'm kind of a centrist. I am libertarian by economically, but I also believe that the corporations can't be trusted to be unbridled.
Right.
So that there needs to be some sort of controls on them environmentally and such. So I'm kind of in a weird position because neither big party really fits what I wanted or my stances. So I have friends from both sides of the spectrum. I have friends that are environmentalists that are like progressive. I have friends who are libertarian, conservative. So they go on and on, back and forth, and post different things and post, all kinds of stuff. And some of it is extremely hateful to the other side. And if you took it personally, you would never want to be on Facebook again. But the people that are just way too over the top, I just unfollow them.
So this is really interesting. So I started a blab, The Evolution of Television and Media, and Austin, who according to his profile was a competitor on The Biggest Loser. So that's really cool. That's very interesting. If you're listening in the chat, I do thank you very much for listening to me
Austin's
blab.
Great.
Is he? Okay. Well, I followed him. I'll follow him on Twitter. That's it's always cool to make connections for sure.
Yeah, I've been on a blab with him before. Cool guy.
Yeah.
That's what.
Is your name Austin, or do you live in Austin?
Yeah.
I believe his name is Austin.
Okay, because I know he lives in Texas, so I'm just.
Right.
But I'm not sure about that.
But yeah, definitely. That's what's great about the internet.
He lives in LA.
Okay, his name is Austin. Sweet, excellent.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I love. I am absolutely a pop culture addict, which sounds crazy. I don't even know if that's really. I mean, yeah, it kind of is. Pop culture is kind of a generic term, but.
It is, and I actually feel the same way. I go to Comic-Con every year. I'm not a comic book. I'm not as like a collector anymore. I do enjoy some comics time to time, but I just love the pop culture aspect of Comic-Con too.
I like the mythology of comic books, so I don't read comic books. I read Wikipedia articles about the characters, and that sounds really boring, but I love the way that characters evolve and change, and I love movies about those characters. It's modern mythology, right? Comic books are a modern mythology, and I think it's an important form of media that you can do a lot of different things with, not just superheroes. It's
Well, Netflix has this new Jessica Jones series coming out on November 20th.
I'll be watching it.
And Jessica Jones is a character that really wasn't really too well known to most people in the mainstream. That was this character that was a superhero at one point, and then she got captured by this person, the Purple Man, and was tortured and I forget if she ended up escaping from him or if Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, made her escape. But she's a person with a lot of issues and dealing with a lot of PTSD issues from her, being captured. So it should be an interesting character. And plus, they're introducing the character of Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, who in the 70s was one of the only African-American comic book characters that was really kind of a pioneering character for Marvel Comics.
Sure. Well, what's great about Marvel is they've become so successful now that they're no longer concerned about, all right, what are people automatically going to remember? Nobody knew about Guardians of the Galaxy before that movie came out. Like, I vaguely had a concept that there was a character about a talking raccoon. Like, right. That's like, I knew it was a thing because it was one of those things that I kind of joked around and passed around. And Ant-Man, I like Ant-Man. He's a very troubled character. He had issues with alcohol abuse and kind of domestic violence, but that was actually an accident. Basically, an illustrator left a writer left something that could have been interpreted to an illustrator, and an illustrator interpreted it a special way, which become part of the character for like his entire life, which is part of the reason why they didn't go with Hank Pym in Ant-Man. They went with Scott Lang, which is a follow-up Ant-Man character, probably because they didn't want to. The Marvel movies so far have been pretty light, not very dark, whereas DC is convinced that everything needs to be a gritty reboot.
Right. You need to have that sepia tone.
Right.
I've liked most of the Marvel movies that have come out, but what I really like that's coming on, TV again this year is, what is it called? Oh God, Gotham. That's but
I like Gotham.
DC's been doing much better with television than they have with movies.
Yeah, and let Brian back in.
Okay. Thanks, Ermine.
Thanks.
Always good to have you involved.
The character development, I love the character development because you have to see at the beginning when they were kids and who these people were. You heard the names, you go, oh, that's Poison Ivy, this person. And then you watch them develop. You know, how the Riddler developed, how Poison Ivy developed, how Catwoman developed, all these people. And now we're going to get ready to see them in action, which is going to be cool because I think it's called something about the Villains Arise or something like that.
Right, so, yeah, Villains Rise or something, yeah. What was interesting to me about Gotham is that when they first were pitching the series, not pitching, but when they first were talking about it, some of the media was talking about, well, this is going to be a series that's like based in the 70s, 80s, and then it's going to show the progression of Batman. But it's obviously in the present time because people are using cell phones and what's interesting about these shows is that you have this small group of these people that are like these ardent comic guys, fanboys, if you will, and they are like so much against a lot of this stuff, but because this is not who Poison Ivy, or this is not who the Joker was, and they want to go back to all the comic books and all the graphic novels that they read, but not realizing that, hey, this is a totally different universe that they're creating here on television,
right?
Yeah. And it needs to be for mass consumption, and it needs to appeal to a wider variety of people than you guys.
It's just so cool. I mean, I'm so excited. I can't wait for it to start. And I think it's a week.
The Penguin.
I'm sorry?
Monday? A week from Monday?
Yeah, I think it's a week from Monday.
Right.
I'm ready.
But the Penguin, the guy that plays the Penguin is excellent.
I love that dude.
Yeah.
I really need to watch it at some point. I didn't have television service whenever it came out, and I just kind of fell behind. I was watching Arrow for a while. I only got like the first half of the first season of Arrow completed. At some point, I'm going to go back and binge watch it just because I want to watch Flash and I want to watch the Heroes of Tomorrow because they just released an image of Hawkman and Hawkgirl.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
I don't know, the DC stuff on the WB tends to have this kind of, or the CW network, not the WB.
Right.
Tends to have that kind of 902 or 90210 kind of feel to it on some level, which bothers me a little bit, but it's fine. It's going to be a soap opera. There's nothing you can do.
Kind of like
happening, but
yeah, like Supernatural.
Right, exactly.
There was something on Netflix. What was it? I think it was another Marvel thing.
Daredevil.
No. It was what the hell was it? It was on TV, and I can't think of the name right now. But it had
S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's it.
Oh yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., yeah.
I like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
I still haven't seen that either, and I feel bad because I've seen everything else in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, I've only seen a couple of episodes of that.
What's great is that Marvel, the Marvel TV universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe are the same thing. Like that's what's great about Daredevil, for example. Like they made some allusions in Daredevil to the events of the Avengers movie.
Right, they actually had the newspaper clippings on the wall in the office of the it wasn't the same newspaper as in Spider-Man because they couldn't use that, but it was right.
Yeah,
right.
That's changing. So, but yeah, like one thing I really want to see, one of those things that's a really geeky comic book thing is in the Marvel Universe, they have what's called Damage Incorporated, which is a company that was started by Tony Stark and Kingpin to basically clean up after these massive events. And essentially, that's the name of the company that cleaned up after the huge stuff that happened in the first Avengers movie. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but I have a feeling it will be.
You think it's going to be mentioned in Civil War?
Well, it's going to either Civil War or one of the Netflix series. It will have to be, I think. But yeah, I think that's. I really love the way that they are making this big cohesive universe, and that counts as the evolution of television and media because that's media. So it's acceptable subject matter. But yeah, a big fan of what Marvel is doing.
Vincent D'Onofrio was so great in Daredevil.
Oh, Daredevil! Daredevil is the origin story of Kingpin. That's how I think of it. I don't think of it as a story about Daredevil, though all of that is well done. The whole thing is well done. Like if there's drama, the drama is well done. If the combat and it has, I would say it has the best choreography I've ever seen on a television show.
What's interesting is I took a look at Arrow again because I had seen like the first season and I kind of ended after the first season and I've been watching it again. And a lot of the ways that Oliver Queen moves are this very similar to what Matt Murdock does in Daredevil, just going through the city like that.
There is a martial art that was invented specifically to be used in movies. And I don't know if that's part of it or not, but let me see. There's a Tom Cruise movie that came out a few years ago. Let's see here. That I really liked. I'm going to look it up here real quick so I can remember because they actually created, like the stuntman that choreographed it actually created a martial art. And that martial art was what was used in the movie.
So what's interesting about Civil War, Captain America Civil War, is that we're going to have, I believe, Daredevil in, Spider-Man, of course, because Sony's is allowing Marvel and Disney to put Spider-Man in there. You're going to have Daredevil in there. You're going to have Ant-Man, Black Panther, who we haven't really seen before. Who's going to have his own movie too, and that's going to be groundbreaking too. Because again, we don't really have other than Falcon coming in the last Captain America movie and Ant-Man. We don't really have African American heroes in there, and he comes from a country in Africa that's supposed to be technologically superior, and it's kind of an interesting comic book character. And it's going to be like leading into his own film. I don't know if Doctor Strange is going to be in there or not, but you have Benedict Cumberbatch playing Doctor Strange, so that really is something that's to me is interesting to look forward to.
I haven't seen Ant-Man or Daredevil. I haven't seen either one. I've seen the previews when they were coming out, but I haven't gotten around to see them.
So there's a martial arts called Keysi, or Keysi, and it was like used in the Batman movies. It was used in the movie Jack Reacher, which is a Tom Cruise movie, which I rather enjoyed myself. but it was used in the Batman films, and it's used by a lot of movies and choreography. It wouldn't surprise me if both Daredevil and Green Arrow were using it. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I got a boogie. Thank you for the chat.
Thanks for popping in.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, guys, I'll catch up with you later.
Definitely good to see you. Meet you. Let me follow you. Boom. There we go. What do you guys think of the use of live streaming, Blab or Periscope, and the use of transmedia productions? I mean, it's inevitable. I would say that in a lot of ways, those new formats will allow their other like smaller media groups to rise. But at the same time, in order to stay relevant, like for example, Twitter, Big Stream Media acknowledges Twitter, and uses Twitter. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Jimmy Fallon is using Periscope within the next 3 months or something.
I thought Fallon was using Meerkat already.
Oh, was it? He probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fallon is using Meerkat.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. I don't think that nothing needs to be everything to everyone. So I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I'm not saying like things need to start using that stuff, but it's certainly useful. I mean, remember back in the day, you used to have so much equipment to do a remote, and now you practically need nothing.
Now you need a smartphone.
Right. The whole citizen journalism thing. It's very interesting for sure.
Even like 3 or 4 years ago when people were documenting things, like when they were documenting that Occupy movement
right
in this country, they needed a lot more equipment because there wasn't the bandwidth, and they needed like hotspots. And if there was something like that, it would be much easier to broadcast.
Well, a friend of mine from that I know from Google Plus, and I'm sure that Brian knows him as well, is George Kiriyama. He was an NBC reporter out in California, and he actually did live streaming using Google Hangouts from the Oakland Occupy. It was interesting. There was they were like riot police and everything. It was something, and that's something now. Like riots have not riots, but protests have always existed. But now the media, because of new media and because of citizen journalism, we now know about it, and we're more likely to share that information and broadcast that information. But yeah, it's. I think I'm a big fan of citizen journalism. But the thing is, like, journalists have a code, or they should have a code. And citizen journalists don't necessarily always follow that, or don't follow that. There are large media formats. All right, so Devin, I can't remember his last name, but he's the guy who does this YouTube series called Smarter Every Day. And it's one of those things you go on there and you'll learn something about science or math or things like that. Attribution, it would be the one that I would. So if you're reporting something and you didn't come up with it, you should attribute to where you got it from. That's to me that's the journalist code.
And then there's a lot of ethical obligations having to do with journalism too, with the fact that you're not, you are immune to advertisements, and whoever your sponsor is, you're supposed to be presenting it as a journalist rather than somebody that's being a paid sponsor. If it's a paid sponsorship, you're supposed to let people know about that. But a lot of times these people online are not they're not actual journalists. They're paid advertisers.
So there's a term that's being used right now for people take content from YouTube or wherever they take it, and they download it and then upload it somewhere else. And someone came up with a term. They're calling it freebooting. Like free, FREE, booting, BOOTING. And it's something that's really bad because people on YouTube, that's how they make their living. Yeah, exactly. That's how they make their living. And whenever you take their content, you might think, well, they're not actually making any money from it. There are YouTube pages that get 500 million, or 50 million views on these videos. If those were getting advertising, what's in the public domain? If it's on YouTube, it's not in the public domain. That's not how YouTube works. But you can share something from YouTube, but instead of sharing the video from YouTube, which would have no impact on them whatsoever, they upload it to their page instead, and then that takes views and money, revenue away from the content creators.
Right. You're not talking about embedding it.
Right.
You're talking about actually
embedding is fine. Should do that. Yeah.
Right. Swiping the actual video and then reformatting it.
Yes. A lot of celebrities do this in order to make their pages on YouTube popular, or rather they have somebody who does it more than likely. I doubt that, some of these celebrities are doing that themselves. But yeah, I think you should also credit images. If you use an image, you should credit the photographer or the artist, whatever. Link back to their portfolio or somewhere where the content can be purchased. I think that if you do that, that is absolutely you're doing your due diligence there, and that should. I always respect an article if it has references. Always include your references, But to me, I mean, that's part about journalist code or integrity that I think is important. And freebooting is like a really big thing, and it's going to get even bigger because basically everybody on YouTube has is for the concept and wanting to promote against the usage of it. And ideally, getting that banned as a thing that you can do on Facebook is the solution that everybody wants. Because mostly they're not downloading stuff and uploading it to their own website. They're uploading it to their Facebook page, Facebook video. And right now, Facebook doesn't have any content ID system. So they can't say this is a pre-existing thing that's owned by somebody else. Whereas YouTube does.
You have to do a DMCA complaint with Facebook.
I don't even think Facebook does anything with DMCA complaints.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what everyone's complaining about. But even if you do, they can still get 400,000 views, 4 million views.
Right.
And it's still taking away revenue from you, and it's terrible. And the thing is, it's not these big guys. Like, it's the big guys who are coming out and saying that it's bad. But there are people out there that make it like $1,500 a month on YouTube. That's a reasonable thing somebody can do, or even less than that. Let's say $1,000, $900 a month on YouTube. You could live off of that. I mean, it wouldn't be easy, but you could. There are people who are doing that, and that's what they count on to put food on their table. It's like whenever actors or writers go on strike, they're not going on strike for Tom Cruise. They're going on strike for the guy who's in 5 commercials a year, and that's how he eats.
Right. Right. It's not for those people are well taken care of at the top of the food chain.
Right. So it's kind of the same way with YouTube. It's not these big people that are being hurt, though they are, and they are losing money. It's the smaller people that are, sometimes they just don't get any money at all. So, I always, if you share something, try to share it from the original source. If you can't, if it doesn't say what the original source is, in Chrome, you can right click it and search it on Google Images. Try to do your due diligence to try to find out the source if you can. I think that's the best thing you can do. I often will see something in my feed and I'll be like, oh, I want to share that. And then I see that it's freebooted. So what I do is I go on YouTube and I search for the original video and then I share the original video because I want here's the thing. Like, you see a video on Facebook. What if you want to subscribe to that creator? You can't because they didn't list the source. So I think that absolutely, sharing your references is very important.
I think I'm going to head out.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it was good.
All right, so
good chatting. Is there anybody else that wants to join? Right. If not, I will probably be ending this blab, including the recording, because I'm not going to stand here by myself and blather. But yeah, definitely a good chat, everybody. I see people are dropping out, so it's closing down. It's been good, Brian. It was good talking to you. I hope you enjoyed your pizza. Anyone else who is currently listening, I certainly do appreciate you listening to me talk. Let's see here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close everything out now. Again, it was great having this conversation. Feel free to follow me on Blad, follow me on Twitter, though I don't know what you're going to see there because I don't use it that much. And see you around. Everybody have a good day. Thanks.